Aquaman in rugby. Insights on recruiting and training. Aquaman as a rugby player. Now there's a player you don't see every day. You're talking about someone who's not just built like a machine, but has the speed and power to match. If I were to bring Aquaman into a rugby squad, it would be a fascinating project. Let's go through it step by step, looking at his potential, his role in the team, and how we'd shape him into a world-class rugby player. Aquaman's best position on the field first off. Let's talk about where he fits in the team. Aquaman, or Arthur Curry as he's also known, is physically imposing. We're talking about a bloke who's 6'4" and built like a tank. He's got that raw power and physicality that immediately makes you think of the forward pack. In rugby, the forward pack are the guys responsible for winning possession and laying the platform for the rest of the team to play off. But Aquaman's also got speed, agility and natural leadership. He's not just a brute, he's a guy who can cover ground quickly, especially given his amphibious nature, where he's able to move seamlessly through water and land with incredible speed. That makes me think we're looking at a dynamic role for him. I'd put him in the back row, possibly as a number 8 or blindside flanker. No. 8. This position allows Aquaman to lead from the back of the scrum and launch attacks with his strength and ball-carrying ability. He'd be the go-to man for breaking through defensive lines, smashing into defenders, and offloading at the right moments. Blindside flanker, number 6. Aquaman would also be ideal here due to his ability to cover large distances quickly and get into position to tackle or poach the ball. As a flanker, his job would be to disrupt the opposition's play at the breakdown and be a menace at the ruck. Both of these positions would allow Aquaman to take full advantage of his physicality, speed and instincts. He's the type of player who can dominate at the breakdown, win turnovers and make massive carries, all while being a defensive powerhouse. Aquaman's training routine. When it comes to training, Aquaman would be a challenge but a rewarding one. His natural environment is the ocean, so we'd need to adapt his training to maximise his strengths on land. Here's how I'd structure his training. Strength and conditioning. Aquaman is already incredibly strong, but rugby requires specific types of strength: scrummaging power, explosive leg drive, and functional upper body strength. He'd work on his squats, deadlifts, and power cleans to build that raw explosive power for scrums and mauls. Endurance and stamina. Rugby is a long, brutal game. We'd need to ensure that Aquaman can maintain his energy levels for 80 minutes, something he's probably not used to in the ocean. His fitness levels would be tested with high-intensity interval training, HIIT, involving sprints, long-distance runs, and endurance drills that simulate the constant flow of a rugby match. Tackling drills. Aquaman has incredible strength, so we'd channel that into his tackling technique. We'd make sure he learns how to tackle safely and effectively, getting low, driving with his legs, and wrapping up the opposition. His natural aggression would be harnessed, but we'd make sure it's controlled. You don't want someone of his size giving away penalties for dangerous tackles. Ball handling and passing. Rugby isn't just about power, it's about skill. Aquaman would need to work on his ball handling skills, passing, offloading in contact, and catching high balls. We drill him constantly on his passing technique, making sure he's comfortable under pressure and can get the ball away quickly to support runners. Decision making. Rugby is fast-paced and decisions need to be made in a split second. Aquaman's leadership as the King of Atlantis would translate well into this, but he'd need to learn the nuances of the game, when to offload, when to hold onto the ball, when to hit the ruck. We'd simulate match situations in training to build his rugby IQ. Scrummaging practice. If he's going to play number 8, he'd need to understand the intricacies of the scrum. Scrummaging is all about technique and power. We'd have him work with the tight 5, drilling the fundamentals of binding, body position and timing to ensure he's rock solid at the back of the scrum. Aquaman's personality. Now as a coach, I like to think about the personality of the players too. Aquaman's got leadership qualities, and that's always a positive. He's used to being a king, leading his people and making tough decisions. That's the type of character you want on your team. He's someone who'd command respect in the dressing room. However, leadership in rugby is different from ruling a kingdom. It's more about leading by example on the field, putting in the hard yards and showing the younger players how it's done. Aquaman would need to adjust to that. He'd be a senior figure, no doubt, but he'd need to earn the respect of his teammates through his work rate and attitude in training. And given his character, I think he'd rise to the occasion. He also strikes me as a competitive bloke. He's proud, and that's a good thing. You want players who hate losing and will do anything to win. But in rugby, you've got to manage that competitiveness and keep it channeled in the right direction. The impact on the team. Bringing someone like Aquaman into the team would have a massive impact. First off, his sheer presence would lift the entire squad. Imagine having a guy like him at training, pushing the boundaries every day. It would force the rest of the team to raise their game, knowing they're competing alongside someone who's physically on another level. Aquaman would also bring a level of toughness and aggression that's hard to match. His presence in the pack would be immense, and opposition teams would have to double up to deal with him. That opens up space for the other players, which is invaluable. On the downside, integrating someone like Aquaman could disrupt the team dynamic if not handled properly. He's a king after all, and he's not used to being part of a team where everyone's on an equal footing. It would be crucial to manage his ego and make sure he understands that rugby is about the team, not the individual. The pros and cons of having Aquaman in the squad. Let's break it down. Pros. Physical dominance. He'd be unstoppable in the physical aspects of the game. Ball carrying, tackling, scrummaging. Aquaman would excel in all of these. Leadership. His experience as a king means he's got leadership qualities. He'd be a calming presence under pressure and could rally the team when things get tough. Work ethic. As a superhero, Aquaman's used to hard work. He'd be a player who leads by example and pushes everyone to be better. Cons. Lack of rugby experience. He's not a rugby player by trade. We'd need to invest time and effort into teaching him the finer points of the game. Team dynamics. As mentioned, his status as a king could be an issue. Rugby is a team game, and he'd need to adapt to that mentality. Managing his personality would be key. Fitness on land. Aquaman's a creature of the sea, so we'd have to work hard on his conditioning for land-based sports. The physical demands of rugby are unique, and he'd need time to adjust. Aquaman's rugby nickname. Now, every good rugby player needs a nickname. For Aquaman, I'd go with something like the Trident. It's a fitting nod to his weapon of choice in the comics, and it reflects his multifaceted skill set on the rugby pitch. Like a trident, he's got three main strengths: power, speed, and leadership that make him such a dangerous player. Conclusion. Bringing Aquaman into rugby would be an exciting challenge. He's got all the physical tools to be a dominant force, but there'd be a learning curve in terms of adapting to the game. With the right training and mindset though, he could be a game changer. He'd inspire his teammates, intimidate the opposition, and make a massive impact on the field. As long as we manage his transition carefully, I think Aquaman could become one of the most feared players in the game, earning his place as the Trident of the rugby world. By the way, if you like this type of video, subscribe for more unique sports content, and don't forget to hit the bell icon to stay updated with our latest videos.